Hello, hello, and welcome to the show. This is New World Aeternum Weekly. I'm your host, Kai Zen. And yeah, this is sort of the first show, sort of not the first show. So we renamed the show to Aeternum Weekly just now. And yeah, so this is the first in a way, but let's be honest, we've been covering New World since before it came out. We've been covering New World since back in the beta, and we were doing it under the Zero Prep banner, but the show had sort of more topics, more things, and we're focusing in on all New World now going forward. So, yeah. Um, with me tonight, we've got Souverine is on vacation and is unable to be here. But we've got Wolf Dragon. Say hello, Wolf.
Hello, hello, everyone. Glad you could join us.
What you drinking tonight, brother?
I'm gonna finish off this Bitburg Fest beer, and then right behind it, I have the Dragon's Milk Reserve.
The salted caramel.
What is this? The salted caramel one,
Hell
yeah.
yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah. Good stuff. Right on, right on. And we also have Arcaven. Ark, what's up, brother? What you drinking?
Going on, my man? I'm chilling with my favorite drink, which is Jameson on the rocks.
There you go.
Oh,
Good,
good.
good stuff. Good stuff. Right on. So, like I said, we're changing the sort of entire focus of the show to just be New World. The Friday show, Black Sky Legion, will have, you know, talking about Star Citizen, No Man's Sky, Elite Dangerous, but also, Foundation and Dune and Cowboy Bebop and this one and that one, whatever comes up. This show is going to be entirely focused on the New World and sort of laser focused in on it. This is a very exciting project that is growing at an amazing rate, and I think we want to sort of really, really hone in on it. We talked about this idea already privately, but I just kind of want to go around the horn here and get from the guys. What do you guys think of this? The idea of focusing in on this as being a solely New World project and be try to cover it extensively and try to sort of market it that way and try to grow the program with players of the game.
I think
Art?
it adds a
Oh,
good
okay.
touch to this game is completely different from the other stuff that we typically play and talk about.
Hmm.
And we might not there undoubtedly is some overlap as we've seen on the Discord server with people jumping over to give it a try and liking it and
Oh yeah.
continue playing it. But there's also going to be some people who just are not in it for the space stuff. So this lets our audience better pick and choose the content that they want to hear about, and of course in the chat and whatnot, participate in talking about and whatnot. So I think
That's
it's goodness.
that's a great point because we did have some people that were a little bit butthurt of saying, hey man, this is you know, not space stuff. We're here for the space stuff. So yeah, it makes a good separator. Um, Ark, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look I'm a marketing guy, as you know, and it makes total sense for what Wolf just said. In the reverse of that, right? There's some space folks that want space stuff, and maybe they gave this a try because they like to check out games that you play, or that some of the cast from Black Sky Legion plays. But ultimately, they really want to play space games, and there's also some kind of fantasy players
Mm-hmm.
who do the same thing. I think the three of us at least, we're all kind of hybrid, right? We do both frequently and enjoy and like it. I know I'm new to the space genre, but like I just really enjoy it too. In fact, watching Cowboy Bebop made me, I started getting a little itchy to go play again. But I think this is a good thing, and I think what you're going to see from it is you're gonna keep both your audiences happy, and you're gonna start growing a brand new audience organically. And a lot of people, Kai, just as long as I've known you, you've brought a lot of people from your past fantasy MMO life back into this game who maybe weren't space players. And that's a nice thing to see them all kind of coming back together and playing underneath a new banner.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Right on. Well, we've got a lot to get to this week with regard to New World. There's a whole lot of changes and things going on. But I think, first off, I think I'm going to turn the mic over to Ark, who has put together some thoughts with regard to sort of some PvP stuff and all of that. So I'm going to turn the mic over to you real quick and use this opportunity to go grab another beer. I'll be back in 5 seconds, but Ark, take the lead.
Yeah, too easy. So again, being that we're all focused 100% on New World and maybe just a quick introduction for anyone who doesn't know, like I'm a big PvP player from the Warcraft days, World of Warcraft to the ESO days. I mean, that's mainly what I do. Of course, I enjoy, some of the PvE stuff, but I spend my weeks for the most part testing different builds, theory crafting. I'm always gold broke because I'm constantly buying new sets to test out different kind of things and not meta builds, but builds that can break metas, for example. So I thought would be useful is 1.1 just dropped, lots of new stuff to talk about. And maybe what I'll do is I'll just kind of quickly go over some of the things that I've seen playing a lot in Outpost Rush, mainly this week. Some 1v1, some dueling. But I'll just break down a few of the weapon kind of combos that I was able to test this week and give everyone an idea what's looking good, what's looking a little shady. I'll just kick it off real quick. I'm ultimately a musket rapier guy. Love, so Dex build, go Dex builds, love it. The new kind of thing is, and this has been, maybe it's not too new, but what most people are starting to roll is a hybrid Dex intelligence build, which makes both the musket and the rapier both scale really, really high because you have diminishing returns post 300 attribute points in dexterity, and you get bigger gains by dumping the rest of those points into intelligence. So a lot of really true kind of glass cannon builds out there, but the musket got buffed. It's moving, it's hitting 2.5% harder. It's got faster reload times. It's just in a really good place, and the rapier got numerous buffs too. I haven't got to test out the PVE because I know that a lot of the bleeds took a lot of they got a big gain, but the riposte got a big gain. The stun's longer now.
Honestly,
Go
honestly,
ahead.
the I think Rapier is going to maybe sort of become meta in a very strong way when people see, like, that was, I think, the single strongest buff to any of the weapons was to that.
Yeah, so I mean it's decent. I think the problem with musket and rapier being meta is some of the players that kind of like the casuals that jump into it. The thing they figure out real quick is oh crap, this is a high skill cap meta.
Mm-hmm.
So while the gear and what it does is good, it's a lot harder to pull off than it is say a hammer great axe build. You do have to be very patient. A rapier is a counter punching weapon. The musket you have to land shots and headshots to make it most effective. So, like I said, it's in a really good place. I tested, I put a whole gear set towards bow and spear. I don't know, for me, I don't, 1.1, I'm sure Kyle will talk about this later. It's very buggy, it's slow and laggy, and it could be that the bow and spear play for me it just doesn't jive right. The bow's a little bit wonky. I can't swap fast enough with it. I think ultimately it should be in a good place. The spear has a lot of stuns. The bow took a nerf, but not really a nerf with that sort of splinter shot kind of fix that was broken, where people were getting like crazy close quarters crits. But I didn't feel it, man. I couldn't, I'm gonna get to it and a reason why as I get to the next piece. But the bow and spear wasn't feeling too much for me. I didn't see a lot of changes from previous ones. I do know the spear, like the coup de grace, hitting really hard now. But there's a lot of options kind of floating around there. The Great Axe and Hammer, I didn't play my Great Axe and Hammer build, which I do have a maxed out 20 build, but playing against obviously a ton of them because that's what most people play. It's looking tough, and we'll talk about grit here in a second, but it's out of control with the grit. I did right now. I'm working on my mage build. I got a fire and ice build I'm working on. a lot of people have been talking about maybe it got buffed or I'm sorry, nerfed too much. But for the most part, I still think it's very it does really well, especially if you decide to kind of go hybrid into Constitution for the first 3 points. You feel a little tanky. You can still go get in and out of combat, get a lot of kills. So that's kind of the major breakdowns I've seen weapon wise. I'm not even going to touch the Void Gauntlet yet because that still needs some testing, some practice. And then finally, Kai, just real quick, I'm going to talk real quick about Outpost Rush. 3 ups, 3 downs. You and I are ex-military dudes, so you know how that goes. 3 improves, 3 sustains. Um, DPS feels really good in Outpost Rush right now. Everyone feels like they matter. Everyone's hitting hard. You can't just roam out into the middle of the area. You're going to get sniped.
Well,
You
and
can't.
most importantly, because they fixed that bug where people were literally running around with 6 food buffs on them, so 9 guys wailing away on them, and they were still like, "I'm good, I'm fine, I'm not hurt." That they
That's
fixed
right.
that, and that's a huge fix. Maybe the
Yeah,
biggest.
absolutely. And a myriad of other things all coming together to make this work. Like I said, most of the weapons got a little bit of a buff in their damage output, which is great. That's what games should be doing. They shouldn't nerf things like weapons, for example, unless it's broke, right? Like the food buff, that's a whole different thing. Weapons, they should just, if a weapon's feeling like it's not performing right, they should give it some more power slightly and then see how it goes. So DPS feels really good. Healers are killable now for that food buff thing you mentioned. Plus, a lot of healers are swapping over into lighter gear to be a little more
Yep.
effective. And the ones that are staying in heavy, they can't out sustain my DPS. So killers are going down pretty good. And then the other thing that's kind of cool is there's a lot of hybrid play happening. There's a lot of dudes running out there with like an ice gauntlet and a great axe or a hammer. So
Mm-hmm.
this is interesting. I think it creates, you don't want too many people in the meta, which still by far the meta is great axe and hammers, tons of those dudes running around.
Mm-hmm.
But you are starting to see a little bit of tweaks and turns in it. Now the 3 things that they need to improve on, I think improve on quickly. First, grit is just poo poo. Like grit needs to go. The grit right now for a heavy axe user, right, is just basically hold heavy axe over and over and over again. You can't do anything. I've tried to pole vault stun them, can't get it off. I've tried to freaking javelin them. Maybe that might have been on my part, just maybe not hitting the shots, not working. I've tried to put the ice wall up, they just go right through it. Like the grit on the heavy attack axe is stupid, and that's all those dudes are doing. Like I said, the only good news is if you're a ranged player, like a musket player, a mid-level player, you can still nuke them down. They can't. They have to make smart decisions. They can't just go out like they did with that food buff and just kind of run around aimlessly.
Mm-hmm.
The other piece is the new outpost rush strategy is just broken. Here's the new strategy. Every game is the same. Rush Sun, and then whoever gets sun, rush the next post, and then simply camp the freaking fort. They gotta stop spawn camping. Put a couple NPCs with like Gatling guns that just sit up there, like the old days of WoW. Like maybe they can be killed, but it's hard as shit to kill them. And it takes a ton of effort because spawn camping busts a game. If you lose sun, your team's done. There's nothing you can do about it. In fact, most of the games I've played just today have been over before it even got to the Baron coming out. So there's lots of things that are fun in that game. What they need to do is figure out how to keep people from spawn camping. They got to figure out how to keep, the strategies, variant. So people have like a lot of different concepts and things they can think about doing, not just simply bum rushing, zerging to a spawn. And then the last kind of improve is there's too many brutes. There's like literally brutes in every fort on any game that lasts longer. Like if you don't get the spawn camp in, it's just brutality across the board. So maybe some suggestions. Maybe pop if you're listening to Amazon, lower some of the costs for the turrets on forts.
Maybe
Protect the
raise
spawn camp.
maybe raise the cost on brutes as well.
That's right. Raise the cost on brutes a little bit because it's just too easy to get that done, and hammer that out. Think about like how the brutes got raise the cost up a little bit. But anyway, that's the little PvP corner
You know
notes I've
what?
got so far.
How about this too? In addition to raising the cost on brutes, how about you add 10 brutes to every game, 5 on each spawn point, and they're free and they're just there, such that no one would try to lock you in on the spawn. Just nice and easy. It's just If you've got 5 brutes that are right on the spawn point and they're literally set that they will not go past like 200 yards. They're just in that initial point. Like, nobody's camping shit.
Yeah, that'd be cool. You know what else you could do is throw a freaking another stone up on either side. So you could have a blue and a red brute fighting each other, right? And then you could counter a brute by another brute. Because guess what? The way with the Zergatry and how hard the DPS hits now, once you got a brute up, you're not taking that brute down. There's just no way. You might as well bypass the brute, just go off and start, trying to get your next objective in or fighting players. But like I said, most of the fights right now after just 2-3 minutes in, you're fighting back at the closest fort to you, and then falling back into your fort. Anyway, that's my little roll up for the week.
Interesting. All right, Wolf. What thoughts do you have? Questions, opinions, anything on everything that Art just said? I mean, I hopped in with some of mine just as we went.
Yeah, I mean, I largely agree with them. There's definitely some room for improvement. Things that sort of irk me to no end right now. I'm currently level 54, and I'm gonna pull up my journal right now.
Oh, I know what you're about to say.
I've got the main storyline quest for Saboteur, which is 55.
Right.
That's go to Dynasty.
Dynasty Shipyard, yeah.
I've got side stories. End of her reign,
Dynasty
expedition to the
Shipyard.
Dynasty Shipyard.
Yeah.
And then, because I finally got the earlier one done, I have the level 60 Marauder advancement to the commander rank.
Right.
Perfectly fine. Like I get why that one is what it is, and there's expectation.
Bro,
they
want you
to
to weep out so hard. Everything is telling you go to Evanscale.
I know, but here's the problem. If I pull up my map and I look at Evanscale right now, I've done the thing where you run around and you go kill the alligators, and then you go to the different shrines and those things. I've had like 4 missions given to me in Evanscale Reach. I've got nothing now. I haven't gone to Reekwater, and I haven't gone to Shattered Mountain because, well, I ran through Shattered Mountain to turn in that one fishing quest, and that was terrifying. So I'm not going to go back up there by myself anytime soon.
Hey, Mordor's chill. What are you talking about?
I don't have any more side quests popping up. And yeah, I kind of ran through a whole bunch of them like a fiend, for the ones you can get out of First Light, Cutlass Keys, Monarch Bluffs, Windsward, working my way up. I got to Morningdale, and it sent me over to Great Cleave and Eden Grove, and I knocked those out. I haven't been getting the other stuff that other people in our group have. It's like, hey, I've got all these things lined up. When you get to this point, come on, let's do it. Let's roll. Like, I'm not seeing them. I don't understand why. And I can't find an official list of all the missions to figure out. Look at my past journal entries and see where either I missed something or whatnot, because I don't have anything to click. And when I did the Varangian, the Varangian pirate thing where they came down from the north in Everfall.
The one that I told you about to get your bag, right? Tier 4 bag.
Yeah, I did it in, I think it took me maybe 30 minutes. I got the bag, and then that was the end of it. For me, and I'm hearing from other people, it's like, no, it keeps going after that. So I don't know if
Something weird.
Just burned through that quickly, but I'm at the point here where, like, I realize I've got the Dynasty stuff, but I'm waiting for other people in the group to get up to the point where they have it, they're ready to go. We'll go through and we'll do the thing. But I've got the I'm max level, I have nothing to do, quote unquote, thing, but I'm not max level. I think there might be a bug in the mission giving process.
So for sure, there might be some stuff that you're missing on that whole aspect. As I already told you, the thing to do in your position is to go and town boards, crafting, all of the things, all of those things.
Yeah. Right now I'm fishing.
Yeah. And that gets XP too. But like, oh shit, I'm about to die because I'm I'm wearing my fishing gear, and I just rolled up like I normally do and was like, oh, I'm gonna fight these guys. But yeah, that's not how that works. I'm wearing my fishing gear. My bad. Yeah, I get it. I get it. So like, town boards are a thing, you know. But yes, I get it. You're feeling that there's some stuff. So let's get into, because I kind of asked you what your thoughts are on what Ark was saying, and then you kind of branched into
Well,
a whole different subject. So
I've got one more thing too. So
is
it's
it
like
on
the
what
only
Ark
other
was
thing
talking about, or
yeah,
is it a
the
different?
other
Okay.
the other thing that I would love to do right now is to be able to participate in wars and invasions, because now I'm high enough level. Well, there's the whole problem of if they want to move people around, like when apparently as they can't just assign somebody to a group. So it ends up I press F1 to accept, and then
Okay.
I get kicked, and then I press F1 to accept, and then I get kicked.
All
Like
right.
that's one thing. The other is, yeah, you're not 60. We don't care, and I get that. I don't have the gear that the 60s do, but I've signed up for probably 24 wars and invasions. I got into one.
And that was a
That's
weird one.
disheartening.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
and that
So
was a
let's.
super weird
So
one.
since everybody is going backwards on the show and doing things out of order, I guess we'll all go out of order now. So I guess under the list of, hey, what would you like changed? Ark has made it very, very clear. His thing that he wants changes to the game are changes to Outpost Rush and changes to Grit. I would say is probably the biggest things. Wolf, what annoys him with the game? What would he like changed? He would like maybe some clarification with regard to some of the missions because he feels like he's missing some. And that's not without good reason, because we know that some missions are missing, i.e., I've done all of the missions in the game, including the new ones, and yet I still don't have a tier 5 campground. And when you go online and you Google it, New World, campground tier 5, you literally see the number one thing that pops up and the dozen things that pop up after it is something is bugged. Half the people in the game can't get the tier 5 camp. They have the tier 4 camp. They've done all the missions. I know for a fact where it comes out of. That mission comes out of Eden Grove. I've done every mission in Eden Grove, and yet I cannot get the tier 5 camp. Many people have gone on the forums, have gone on Reddit, have confirmed this is a bug, this is a thing. They need to work on it. I'm sure they're getting to it. They've got a long list of things. It's the first 6 months of an MMO. This is literally month 2 of an MMO launch. So I'm sure they have about 10,000 things that are broken, that they're working on, that they're trying to get whatever, as with all MMOs. So that's Ark's things and Wolf's things. My thing, the two things that bug me the most that I wish they would get to. Number 1, Warboards. You go to a Warboard, you can sign up half the time. The other half the time, it's just grayed out. You can't interact with it for some reason. This is a known bug. Many people have complained about it. There have been wars that have happened where somebody goes on to complain on the official Amazon forums, hey, Amazon, we just had a war and we lost. And the reason why we lost is because the other team had 50 people on their roster, and we only had 4 people that were able to sign up to the war. So our 4 people failed to defend against an army of 50 people. Feels bad, man. There's been glitches where people click on the war, and it says that the war is happening like December 31st, blah, blah, blah. Like not later tonight, but like New Year's for some reason, or next year, or last year. And it's like, well, fuck. So that's my number one thing is it's a known issue that Warboards are glitchy as fuck. You can sign up about half the time. The other half the time you cannot. I would very much like that fixed as someone who likes to try to do 4 or 5 invasions a day. The second thing, and maybe if it's possible, even bigger thing that is irking me these days is a lack of a loadout. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'll keep saying it till the end of time. This game has gear sets. You literally have, this is my tanking gear. This is my Outpost Rush DPS, PvP gear. So we've got my PvE tanking gear, my PvP build gear, my mining luck set, my skinning luck set, my harvesting luck set, I missed one there. Logging set, my my lumber set. So like you're actually refining lumber. My tanning set for refining skins. My stone cutter set for refining ores. My weaver's set for refining that. My armorer set for making armor. My weaponsmith set for making weapons. My mixer set for making arcana. My chef set for making cooking. So many sets of armor, and they have no system for loading in what's your loadout for this, that, and the other. So when I'm out fishing and I come across some ore, I have to dig through my bag and one at a time pick out here's my hat for mining, here's my shoes for mining, here's my pants for mining, here's my shirt for mining, here's my gloves for mining, here's my necklace for mining, here's my... Oh my God, it hurts my head. And in fairness to them, like shit like this, where like loadouts for gear sets and shit, WoW didn't have it at first. Final Fantasy didn't have it at first. You get them, they come down the line. And we're on month 2 of the game. So I'm fairly confident by month 6 of the game that it'll be there. I just really hope that it comes sooner rather than later. If it were to come next week as opposed to 6 months from now, that would save me many gray hairs, is all I'm saying. Love your game. Love your game so very much. But those are the 2 things that are bugging me the most. Now.
Yeah, dude, that's like a big quality of life thing, just being able to switch them around. I don't even do all the stuff that you do, but I have obviously a lot of different sets for just PvP or PvE, and just having like a 1 or 2 click ability to be able to switch them around would be game changing.
Yep. And I mean, like for example, in Final Fantasy 14, you literally just I'm trying to remember if this is correct. I might be. Nope, you did. You had loadouts. Never mind. There was a different game. I can't remember which, where just when you equip the weapon, it throws on the set. So it could literally be if you equip if you go to mine an ore node or a rock, it throws on the mining set. If you go to click on a lumberyard or go to click on a weaving a loom, it throws on your weaving set, or you go to an armorer spot and you go to start making armor, it throws on your armoring set. Like they could do it auto. I wouldn't, that wouldn't make me sad. Or if they wanted to sort of just do it manual, give each player 20 slots, and I wouldn't even. I mean, I'd be like, look, you want to charge me for it? Here, charge me $5. I'll throw you $100 right now. Give me 20 slots, and let me name them and let me customize them. And it's like, this is, PvE tank. This is PvP, brawler. This is fishing, this is mining, this is logging, this is cooking, this is whatever. But like, oh my God, yes, please. So let's talk a little bit about 1.1. 1.1, I think, is the biggest, clearly, patch, change, whatever, update to this game. Now, they said clearly that, that updates or whatever that they were planning to do in the first month, they didn't, because it was just all hands on deck putting out fires from the launch. But that they sort of intend to keep up this pace and put out more and more as as things progress. And I honestly feel like the amount of changes and updates and stuff to this game, including a brand new weapon, including new mob types, including new story, including new quests, including uh um changing a bunch of like the effects for things and the way things look, and adding like different like icons on the map and different icons for a lot of the stuff that you have in your inventory, and just so very, very much. Holy crap. The change was massive. I mean, it's big, it's huge. Um and I'm very excited for what this bodes for the future with regard to just, all of the if they keep going at this pace, the amount of changes that they're bringing to this game, I think, are staggering, and I think will put this game in a very, very strong place to be the premier MMO going forward. I think if they, over the next, say, year, manage to put out every 45 days or whatever a major update where it's on an A/B cycle, and A is a new weapon and new mobs and new quests, and B is a new zone and some new dungeons and some new quests. Holy shit. A year from now, 6 new zones, 6 new weapons, 12 rounds of new quests and new mobs and new whatever. That is a pace that is, the only ones that have come close to that are ESO, and ESO has grown really, really at a pretty strong rate from a very shitty start. They've grown really, really well as a result of, on the back of, I feel, that sort of release tempo. Now, this is the positives. We're going to get to in a minute the negatives, because oh my God, are there some negatives? But I want to go around the horn and get from you guys. What are you guys thinking with regard to these changes and fixes and whatnot? Start with Ark.
Yeah, so yeah, man, like you heard me, in Discord earlier this week, kind of piss off somebody, just saying, look, if they keep at this pace right now, right, if they continue to put out the content at this rate once a month, do some massive pushes like this, and a lot of what they're pushing is sort of feedback that they've received from actual players, then it's on pace to be a content creator's dream, like Star Citizen is. You know what I mean? Just a machine that continues to push out amazing changes, content updates. It just constantly keeps content creators and viewers like thoroughly satisfied with results.
Mm.
But like you say, and some of the smallest things for me, were the icon changes, just like how dyes look now, different, food quality items. These are small, tiny little things, but they're huge in terms of just that small little bit of touch in the game that changes kind of how you play a little bit. It's already a beautiful game. There's a lot of stuff like I'm happy to see, like I really like all the buffs they did in 1.1 to weapons, as I just discussed. I want to see more of that, less nerfs. I really like the changes to crafting. I didn't know, like I get it slowed things down, and I'm a guy who's a little behind in crafting, but I like in Arcana now. Like I hate that. Well, first off, if you have a player-driven economy, then there has to be commodities people care about or want, or you have to have good commodities. No one's gonna buy 100 freaking iron shields, right? You know, so now where you have crafting, where you're like you have to constantly progress what it is you make. One, like it just has a numerous second and third order effects that benefit everything. One, you require a bunch of different mats and things that you didn't require really before, and that increases the value of those mats. Two, you have what you're outputting, the products you're creating, some of them might be worth buying, especially for people leveling or for end game, right? So you're going to put more products on the market essentially. So all those things are good things. And last big thing, the biggest one, as you know, I have to say, I love that we're not just slightly, but we're massively thinking about that player-driven economy, thinking about like how important crafting is. We're massively increasing the need, desire, want to flag PvP with that big 30% increase in gathering rate drops, luck pieces, and then the actual loot 10% drops. Like it's very difficult to be a crafter or to be a gear score hunter and pass up 10 and 30%, which for guys like me who want to play PvP, it's great because there's more people to play with.
Wolf, what do you think?
I think Art kind of hit a bunch of them on the head. I love the little changes that they've made with the iconography of things. We had for a while, and what's this look like? It's this placeholder. Like that's one thing. For the food, I think I'm almost maxed out cooking, and a lot of them just look the same. And when I logged in after the patches, it's like, oh, that looks cool and nice and fun. Um, Another bit of iconography that I really liked that changed was in Scale, with the different shrines.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the fire shrine's orange, looks like fire. The earth shrine's green, it's a little mountain. Water shrine's blue, and the air shrine's white. Little windy things. I would love to see those kinds of little touches just put around on different parts of the map. Like it adds that little degree of, okay, what the hell is that? I'm gonna go over there and see what that is. Because otherwise, like when I've just been running around in places, for funsies, it's like you get close to a POI and you see the question mark on your compass, or you see the little area with a question mark, and it's like, oh, I need to go explore that. It pops up and it's like, okay, it's this whatever icon. It's got some flavor text. I may or may not even go into the area beyond just crossing the fence to get the little, hey, you found this. Here's the little tick on the counter for the county for how much of it you explored, and here's a little bit of XP you get for it.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that is like, it draws me in to go see, like, okay, they spent a little more time on this. What's here to see? And particularly in Evansco Reach, those 4 shrines, it's like, oh, this is different and cool and beautiful.
Yeah.
Which the whole area is different and cool and beautiful too. But it drew my eye, and it's certainly going to draw other players' eyes in to go have a look at the thing.
Mm-hmm. They also added in a lot more sort of information that you can gather, like when you click on the map or when you click on your bio and you pull up the main screen, you can see, oh, these are all the trophies at a glance. These are all the trophies I have in my 3 houses without having to go around everywhere and look. They added a lot of information of like, oh, this does that. This turns into that. This costs that. This can be transferred here. This can be transferred there. They just basically cleaned up a lot of the UI to give you a better idea of where things go. And again, this all falls to me under the heading of, it's the first 6 months. They're polishing, they're getting their shit together. This is sort of standard. As much as this game, I felt, dropped way more polished than any other sort of launch of an MMO that I can remember in the last 10 years. But even having said that, there's a ton of room for improvement. There was then, there still is now, but it's coming along, I think, rather well. So in addition to all of those changes, they also they linked all of the markets together. How are you guys finding that as an experience? I was on the fence originally when it was proposed, but from when it was proposed, my knee-jerk reaction from an immersion standpoint was like, no, that was the whole point, is it was going to be separate markets and separate economies and separate whatever. But then I had like a week to think about it, of just constantly all those times where it's like, oh shit, that's in Everfall. Okay, I'm going to run 10 minutes, stop what I'm doing, run 10 minutes, go to Everfall, pick up this thing so I can come back. And it kind of, by the time it actually hit, I had gone from being kind of a little like knee jerk, like, no, my immersion, to like, actually, I'm okay with this. And now that it's actually hit and I've been playing with it for a couple of days, it's just gotten stronger and stronger of, oh my God, that just took out so many pain in the ball things of like, I gotta go run over there. It's just, it's when you're in Morningdale and you're like, shit, I want to buy one of these. All right, just buy it. Who cares? It's more, so you pay an extra couple cents in tax, but you can get anything anywhere. And just in the end, the more that I've interacted with it, the more that I love it. Wolf, what do you think?
So, I was a little on the fence, but I was also getting kind of tired of, I got to go over to this place in order to buy that, or nobody's buying this here, so I got to go over here to sell it. When they merged the markets, I was always able to buy from any other market without any issues whatsoever. I've had a couple instances where, for whatever reason, when I'm trying to sell something, say in Windsward to somebody in, I don't know, Morningdale, it would say insufficient items and wouldn't go through, and that was kind of annoying. But that seems to have gone away now. I don't know if it was just whatever on the back end being a little wonky, but overall the user experience for I have stuff or I need stuff, go to the trading post and either get it or sell it or whatever. Way nicer, not having to run around or burn Azoth, and well, I don't have the Azoth generation capability of some of you guys being able to jump in on the higher order stuff yet. I'm sure that'll change. But it meant that I was doing a bunch of running around and not getting to what I wanted to in the game. Now I'm sure that there's some people who looked at it and could figure out like trade routes where if I go and buy this here, I can go sell it at this trading post and I can make money that way. That it killed that sort of
It did.
being a trader game loop, but I don't know if that was an intended game loop they
It was.
wanted the game to have.
It was originally, but I think in the end, you're absolutely right. It did kill that game loop, but that was such a niche thing that I feel like the benefit and the convenience and the lack of ball busting that it's given to the complete population far outweighs the loss of income, revenue, whatever, generating for such a small niche of the players that were playing the arbitrage market. Ark,
Sure.
what do you think?
Yeah, yeah, I said this the other day. I found it interesting. I have my own little kind of loops. I walk around a lot, just gathering stuff. And one of the things I mentioned, I saw on the bridges. A lot of the bridges had both walkways and they had like the immersion-looking ramps where you could like, carts or wagons or siege engines could go up. If you really wanted to invest in a game that had a lot of meaning behind different types of biomes with different types of things you collect and different types of trade that mattered in those biomes, a couple other things probably would have been necessary to build into that. Some of that might have been, PvP or PvE kind of missions where you had to actually trade things or protect traders or do stuff like that. Some of it might have been just having a little more distance between the biomes or like not being able to fast travel with certain things or something like that. That would have stopped players from just simply burning out the overabundance of Azoth that most people end up having. So I think just on its own, it just wasn't strong enough to be a mechanism that kept me from actually playing this amazing game, which is an amazing game. And this is where, FDev should take a look at, because let the people play the game because you got a great game. Don't make them do a bunch of stupid stuff. I'm talking about like crazy,
Engineering?
mat gathering, right?
Yeah.
Like don't make me have to do a million things. Let me just play the game, and that's what this does ultimately. It lets us play the game. The small niche. You still do some math and figure out where the best places to sell your stuff are. People still pay the taxes on those things, but I just don't think it was a big problem that we were seeing in terms of like oh, they don't have this commodity here because oil's not from here. We weren't seeing that. We were just seeing the main most popular towns be, auction houses flooded,
Yeah.
and then the other towns not. And now they fixed all that. So those other towns, now there's a reason to own Weakwater or some of these outlier towns where before they were just money holes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Um, all right. So another big, huge, maybe the big, no, not maybe, definitely the biggest change in 1.1 was the Voigt Gauntlet. So I want to get from your opinions, have you played with the Void Gauntlet yet? What do you think about it? What do you like? What do you not like? So, me personally, I think that I get that people love the Halo sword. People love the, hey, look, I've got an electric sword of, super. I've got a lightsaber. It's a little fucking purple lightsaber. That tree doesn't particularly excite me. The other tree that does all of the buffs and debuffs and all of that stuff, that as a back bar weapon, not as a primary weapon, but as a secondary, I think obviously it pairs incredibly well with the light staff. That's a no-brainer. But I've seen, who's that guy? I'm blanking on his name right now. That guy, he's the number one arena ranked whatever. He's the number one PvP player in WoW. That he's come over and he's now a big streamer in New World. Um, that guy was talking about doing Great Axe Void Hammer builds. Like, he was saying that he was surprised the extent to which you could mix and match Void Gauntlet with weapons that people weren't sort of thinking about up front. And basically just the idea is I'm doing my most of my DPS with the Great Axe, but I'm using the Void Gauntlet for sustain, using it for a little bit of like crowd control and or debuffs and whatever, and then getting it in on the Great Axe. So I think the Void Gauntlet is a phenomenal weapon. I feel like it was balanced pretty well. It doesn't seem like it's too stupid, overpowered, broken, strong. I worry that the life staff still is a little too strong in the meta, and they're in a weird spot with that. Where since they only have one healing weapon in the game, when you nerf it for purposes of PvP balance, you also sort of nerf sustainability of PvE groups. Like sort of PvE groups need life staff to be super strong to survive in PvE content. But then that leads to a weird situation where you kind of have a little too strong whatever. So I'm worried that putting a really good all-rounder tool in with an already overpowered partner can make for some whatever, but that's not really the fault of at all that the Void Gauntlet. That's more of saying that they need to look at ways to help balance life staff, and doing that is a super tricky proposition because you basically want to nerf it in PvP while not at all nerfing it in PvE. And that, I think, requires a lot more sort of, giving, instead of nerfing life staff, giving other weapons abilities to deal with the healing potential. And I think they did a good step towards that by making buffing life staff damage or healing potential rather, while in light, while nerfing everything else of it, which is basically, let's be honest, just trying to get everybody out of the current tank healer build of a healer in all heavy gear. So let's go around the horn and get your impressions. Wolf, what'd you think of the Void Gauntlet? How do you feel that it sort of changes and or modifies and or sort of fixes or hurts the meta? What do you think that does to the meta? because I'm always in favor of disrupting the meta. I love hurting the meta, so long as it doesn't imbalance. I like hurting meta so long as it doesn't imbalance the player experience. So what do you think?
So the the big difference between how Amazon has done New World versus other MMOs, like we can pick up any weapon, we can use it. There are no classes per se. You can build your character to do whatever you want, use whatever you want in the way that you want. And that in and of itself is going to be a meta disruptor. The addition of a new weapon is going to be a meta disruptor. And I really hope that they continue to roll these out, because wherein, you know, pick with the great axe. If you want to do crowd control or you want to do single target just annihilation, there's a meta for each one. And then add on a second weapon to use, for whichever purpose or what like that. It'll in and of themselves, they're going to build their own meta. But as far as, hey, if you want to completely just rock face in any given situation, here's what you do. That doesn't really exist so much in this game, and I like it. And with the way things are, and Art can attest to this one. If you're gonna roll up on somebody, you need to have an idea of what you're gonna do to them and where you need to keep them for. It comes down to tactics. Because you don't know what they have or how they're going to use it necessarily, there's a big question mark there. And it's going to keep everything very lively and different and interesting, so that it's not just a series of roll up and start button mashing this one specific thing over and over again. Like you have to do stuff differently in this game. And the addition that the Voigt Gauntlet has made has strengthened that. Like I hate, like, here's the one thing you got to do, and if you do anything else, you're dumb. Like, no, I want to play this game my way, and I can do this, and I can excel at these things, and not so much at these things, and that's just is how it is. And if you're doing something else, flex as needed, and you have the ability to easily do that however you please. I think that's amazing. I love how different that is, and it adds to my enjoyment of being able to play this game, because if I just want to do something completely different, I can.
As with all things, I believe that meta is the enemy of skill. I feel like skill players love to try to get around the metas, whereas meta is just basically meant for the mindless button mashing. Arc, Void Gauntlet, pluses, minuses, disruption to the meta. Where is it too weak? Where is it too strong? What does it get you excited for? What does it worry you about?
Yeah, I think next week I'll have a much better idea. I'm like I said, this week for me, starting like yesterday and all week is going to be all int focused. I mainly did decks last week, but from playing other players, PvP wise, nobody's taking that support thing PvP wise right now. Everyone's taking the sword route. It's got a ridiculous stun. It's got some crowd. It's got some debuffs that are nice, and some of those things aren't impacted by whether or not you put points in int or focus. So that's going to cause some folks to test it out, try it out. I think it's too early to figure out what it's really going to do, not going to do. What we know is it can't sustain healing on its own. And the other thing is we know for sure is most people are even with its mana perks that help gain mana back. Most people are fairly mana starved, especially if they've got a secondary weapon that also uses mana. So I think these would be tough for healers. Not that it can't be done. I just think anytime you bring a new weapon out, it's not about how good it is. It's about how good it is compared to the other ones that you have. That variety is great. This game, what it really needs to do to break metas is do what it already does with most of the weapons. Most of the weapons require player skill, as you just mentioned. And it doesn't matter if you do what your favorite YouTuber does. It requires skill. I think the Void Gauntlet's going to be one of those weapons, like the tether effect. It reminds me of the Necromancer and ESO.
Mhm.
It's so same with the orb. It's
Same
not
same thing
easy.
same thing with Shadow Priest and WoW. They had that thing where you would tether and like you would like drain their life drain or whatever. Yeah.
Those aren't easy things to play because you have to keep in mind what most players don't, positioning. And if you're at the level where positioning is important to you, then you're a pretty good player. And I think the people that mainly follow the metas, and this is why the Great Axe and Hammer are the metas. They're just clicky, clicky, clicky. You just like I said, the grit on the Great Axe allowed you just to not get touched and just simply hold the left click button. While the Warhammer, although you do have to like figure out, there's some skill behind timing the stuns. It's just a giant AOE stun, and for the most part, I think the Void Gauntlet's going to be a high skill cap weapon at the end of the day. If you don't know what you're doing, you're going to run yourself out of magicka and be dead,
Hmm.
or you're just simply not going to have the debuffs on the target long enough. But I think in time we'll figure out a little bit more what is going on. I'll do some testing today. Most of the guys I've seen playing with it are doing full int builds with like fire
Hmm.
staffs and stuff.
Hmm.
But like it's causing them to do weird things that I just don't know is going to be sustainable versus good players. Meaning, the sword, which does the DPS, is causing them to get in melee. And when you're in melee, when you're squishy, the goal is to get back out. It's not to hang out in there. So we'll have to see, kind of how it all unfolds. But as Wolf just said, the reality is, and ESO is like this too. You can kind of mix and mash. There's not really class based. It's more. I mean, there are classes in it, but you can kind of do a lot with the different classes
Oh yeah.
in terms of what they wear, what they do. That's great in games, and that supports kind of breaking up the metas. And as I said, you want to make it a little more difficult. Take the grid away from the great axe, and all of a sudden it becomes a very important skill type weapon.
Mm.
Take figure something out with the stuns of the Warhammer. Warhammer probably doesn't have to be too touched too much. It's not in too bad of a place, but that make it skill based, and then people have to actually learn how to play the game, learn how to play the thing that they're picking up, and they can't just simply watch their favorite YouTuber and be like, oh, let's all respec and do this now. That's
Well,
just not going to work.
so I'm not going to say that you're wrong, but I will say this, Ark. They're clearly going the other way. They just added grit to Whirlwind, which was a huge step in the opposite direction of what you were saying. Do you feel
Sure.
like
Honestly,
do you,
Whirlwind needed it.
do you feel like this is interesting because we've got Ark here who very much is the anti-grit whatever. We've got Wolf here who I know has Whirlwind on his bar and has felt the anguish of starting the spin to win and finding that it's actually smack to lose.
So
Let's let you guys. I want you guys to hash it out. Go.
let me elaborate real quick because I'll probably save Wolf from having to debate this with me. I don't think it's bad on Whirlwind. I think it's bad on light and heavy attacks. For example, if you're gonna put grit, I said this earlier. If you're gonna give grit an option, make an option every class. If you play the fire staff, if you try to use incinerate, or you try to use the burnout, or you try to use anything that has a cast like an animation, you're effed. In incinerate, you have to be fairly close to somebody. It's just the same thing like whirlwind. It's going to knock you out of it. I think whirlwind needs grit, but I don't think you should put it on light and heavy attacks because all you're going to do. See, the thing about whirlwind is right. It has a cooldown. A light and heavy attack doesn't have a cooldown. So you can just continue to hold heavy attack, heavy attack, heavy attack. And there's some dudes that'll say like, "Oh, they can, you can stun them." Bullshit, man. I've tested it out all week long, and other people have too. You can't do a whole lot when they're doing that constant grit. You have to perfectly time in between their heavy attacks. Now,
Wolf.
whirlwind, I can take that hit from whirlwind, but then he can't just use it again right away. It's got a cooldown, so it makes sense.
All right, Wolf. Your response to
I
that?
I I completely agree. It is way too easy for me to just keep clicking with my right trigger button and become unstoppable. If instead of, hey, doing this attack, which, it's the two most common attacks you're going to do because the others are cooldowns, gives a chance to put on grit, then that's one thing.
So
Saying, "Hey, you just do this and you got it," that was a bridge too far.
I want to call
It's a
out.
300 point attribute.
I want to
right?
call out.
For
Go
go
ahead.
ahead, go ahead,
No,
Kyle.
no, no, no. Go ahead. Finish your thing.
I was just going to say it's the 300 point attribute tree that you get that grit. Instead of doing that, why don't you make it not have grit, but you get something bigger, like you know, I'm just this would take more thought, but like some kind of bigger DPS hit or a stun or an execution or something from a heavy attack because the wind-up's longer and it's harder to do. So make it be something that's more linked to that weapon, like a very high damage type thing, um, versus that, you just get grit. Or make it give you fortify, make it make it could be more tanky or something like that. I think there's a passive for that already. But anyway, it's easy to fix some of these things. But if you let it in there, then it's going to disrupt numerous things. Mainly, what you're seeing right now is Outpost Rush because it's the easiest click to win scenario.
So I want to call out from the chat Nomad, our buddy Nomad Skellington, who says, metas are what always turns me off from games. What's the point of playing when the whole game evolves around metas? Take all the fun away from me. So, and I 100% agree, Nomad, and I think the entire panel agrees.
Nomad sounds
Yeah,
like.
he's not wrong.
Yeah. So, all right. So those are a lot of the changes. There were also a ton of quality of life fixes, a ton of it was broken before where, like I said, a guy could run around with 6 food buffs and you have 8 people hitting him and you don't see his health bar move because he's literally taking 6 times the tick. So every second he had 6 different buffs going on that were replenishing his life bar. They fixed that. The single biggest fix, I think, to Outpost Rush that you could do if you were just to name one thing, and they did that. Huge. Lots and lots of other fixes, quality of life stuff, changes, rebalances, tons of balance changes to the weapons. Most of them I feel very, very strong. A couple of them has me scratching my head. I feel like, honestly, so I'm a tank, okay? I play sword and board on the front bar and hammer on the back bar for PvE content. For wars and invasions, I go great axe front bar and hammer back bar, and really those are interchangeable. Either one, those are 50-50. For PvP, you'll probably find me going probably the same great axe hammer. So I am a person who has a vested interest in seeing hammers and great axes be strong, and yet I saw the amount of buffs to hammers and great axe and was like, that's odd. With regard to bows, I feel like they took some nerfs, and some of them sort of were needed. Like one of them was a thing that it wasn't a nerf so much as they fixed a thing that was broken. I think casters saw a little bit of a nerf indirectly in the sense of just they changed how it works, where basically you can't now be a battle healer, in full heavy armor, or a battle mage in full heavy armor and be as effective. And I think that was needed. I think that was wanted. I think that was what they want to promote. But honestly, as much as I want hammers and axes to be strong, I kind of feel like maybe some of those changes were a little like these weapons are already on the strong end of the spectrum, and you're making them stronger. But I feel like by and large, the weapon changes, and this will be a constant thing. They will be, I feel like, every month or two for the next 5 years in this game, we will see weapon balance changes, and that's a great thing. I think that's good for the health of the game to see a constant shifting meta, and as much as possible to break metas, and to just have it be a constantly evolving, kind of like Magic the Gathering or whatever, that where they're constantly putting out new rule sets or new changes such that it keeps it fresh, it keeps it alive. So that I think is good. Let's talk about some of the things that seem to be a little weird. So when they introduce this new weapon, and they've made a forum post where they acknowledge, hey, the guys, we know the game's sort of gone to shit as far as there's tons of weird little bugs. There's lag spikes. There's all kinds of stuff. And basically what happened was this. When they introduced the Voigt Gauntlet, somewhere, some programming code, somehow, somewhere, some way, broke. And now, for any damage over time, not just Voigt Gauntlet ones, anyone. So I know, there's various weapons that have damage over time things. There's the fire staff, just many, like half the weapons in the game have some form of a dot or more. Really all the weapons, if you look at the 2 trees, have access to some kind of a dot by and large. All of those are now taking up 10 times the amount of sort of server capacity as they're supposed to. They literally said, guys, we screwed up. Our bad. We fucked something up. We're working super hard over the weekend to try to fix it. We're going to put out another patch ASAP, and we're going to try really, really hard to fix it. It'll just be a couple days. We're going to get that sorted. The result of this one massive clusterfuck is I've seen people get kicked out. My game just shit the bed. Like, it just closed yesterday on me. Sin, he had it twice in the last 2 days where the game just dipped on him. It was just like, nope, psych, I'm out. We've seen lag spikes. We've seen sort of weird little glitches where you go to, skin an animal you killed and you can't, or you go to mine a node and it just doesn't. Yesterday, I went through a weird period where I restarted my game 3 times because I just couldn't fast travel. I would click to recall to my inn or fast travel, any kind of fast travel, whether it was in recall to inn, recall to home, or fast travel. Couldn't. It would just say failed. We've seen just tons of weird little glitches and bugs. Honestly, the game today is buggier than it was on launch. But this is all a result of that clusterfuck. It was a result of some new thing that they broke, and they're aware of it, and they've already acknowledged it, and they've said, "Oh shit, guys, my bad. We're on this. We're getting it." Who wants to go first, Wolf or Ark? I know you guys have experienced some weird fuck ups. Hop in.
I gotta say the most irritating one is I go through an area because it's like, oh, there's this like provisions chest because I'm trying to get some stuff for doing food, or an arcane chest, and even just a regular thing is like, I just need crafting mats, blah blah blah, and I go through and I fight through an area and I get over to the chest and I go to crouch down and the spinny bar stops.
Yep, it goes 90%,
whatever way through.
Yeah,
it's like, what?
Yeah, and then you just sit there.
It's so irritating.
Oh, and that's the word. And the funny thing is when that happens, and that's a node. That's not just a treasure chest. That's a node. That can happen on a tree that you're trying to whatever. That can happen on an animal you're trying to skin. That can happen on a rock that you're trying to break. That can happen on a treasure chest that you're trying to get, where you start the process and then it freezes. Yesterday, I had that happen for 20 minutes solid when I was trying to cast my fishing pole. It would wind back and then just freeze. Like, how about no?
Ugh.
And again, this is all a growing pain introduced from this thing that they added, and it's like fucking up the servers. And they've posted already on the forums this weekend 2 different posts saying, "We're working on this, guys. We're sorry." Ark. Go ahead.
Didn't this also bring in that glitch with animation, or not with animations? There's some war glitch that you can do, and
Oh
it's
no.
caused
So
absolute mayhem on our server.
so in fairness, basically that was a thing that existed always, and then they just fixed that.
Okay.
They just fixed that like 3 weeks ago, and then this thing, the lag caused by this, brought it back. But I mean,
Oh,
but
okay.
here's the thing, because it's just a thing introduced by this, and they clearly have they know what it is, and they've said what it is. When they when they resolve it, it'll go away again. Arc.
Yeah, man, this is tough for a game because, as you mentioned, it is in its worst shape right now, play wise, that it's ever been. And when you have like lag, right? You guys talked about I've experienced same things, nodes not working. I've never had lag in this game ever. I have at least twice per gaming session. If I'm on for 3, 4 hours, I'll get like this red text that says lag detected, and then I'm screwed. Outpost Rush, when you get everyone kind of piled up in a fort, everyone's rubber banding.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible to do much. If you're a PvP player and you have something in the game called weapon swap, well, good PvP players have like a rotation that requires the use of both weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, some kind of stun or burst or something you're doing, and in its current form, it's just not possible. Um, yeah, it's been tough, man. There's been like a lot of weird things. I've seen some weird ones. It's not that big a deal, like some floaty things here and there. Um, I like today I encountered a boss, or like this might have been meant, but it was just a regular 42 elite character that everyone around him. It's just a normal, not named, not anything, but like three of us. It took three of us like 5 minutes to take him down because he had ridiculous health. But then the other one that looks just like him, that's 5 meters up the road, it was no problem to take him down. So
So
yeah, they gotta fix this, man. They gotta get it. I know that they like admit like, yeah, we did this, but like this is bad, and they need to fix this next time around. Because it's changing everything in terms of like how players play the PvP parts of the game, which is very much what they're trying. This 1.1 patch was trying to increase the amount of PvP that you have. So you have new players, PvE players trying to PvP, and they're experiencing lag and weirdness whenever they try to do it. Yeah, it's just not a good. That's not a good look or feel for the game.
so I will
Actually,
call out.
the
Go
thing you
ahead.
just said about floating, one of the people in our Discord posted some pictures. I believe it was last night. They went out to Rabbit Island, and I'm not going to spoil it, but they made the badness happen, and as a result of that, for whatever reason, both of them got put like 10, 20 meters into the air, and they were just no clipping around. And it wasn't until one of them figured out how to die, because they couldn't interact with a damn thing because they were outside of everything's interact window and try to hit window and stuff like that. Like
Mm.
they were super confused, and given unstuck would just teleport them to a location still, however many tens, 20 meter in the air. Like it was super weird. We had laughs. Like it was like,
Mm.
all right, that's new. I've never seen that before. But like there's some underlying back end things that the inclusion of the Void Gauntlet has obviously caused. And maybe it's, related to a few other things in the process too. But um the fact that these things happen now is kind of a good thing, because then they'll know for later, oh, hey, we did this and this happened, which was completely not intended, and we had to do this to fix it. Well, going forward, I fully expect that to not happen ever again.
That would be good.
Because as long as they, learn from mistakes, then the same mistakes don't happen and we get new ones until eventually there are no unintended side effects, at which point this very rapid dev cycle that they want to do will just result in the game becoming more and more polished with more and more things to do without any unintended headaches.
All right, we're going
And
bonus
that,
round.
to me, is fantastic.
We're going bonus round here. First arc, then wolf. Name one more thing that you would like added or changed to the game. It could be a weapon, it could be a thing, it could be anything. Go first arc, then wolf.
Man, you jump out of the blue. I had a different thought in my mind just now. But yeah. So all right. Here's what. This is not changing the game. Here's what I want them to use. I want them to use the PTR. Right. I'll connect this with my last thought. What I want in the game is polish, and I want them. Here, my honest opinion is they rushed this. They didn't. They should have let the PTR run a couple weeks before releasing this, because we are seeing the bugs that they probably could have got out in the PTR if they let it run another week. I'll give you one more small thing that most people, and I'm a musket guy, so but I'll say this publicly, and I've seen somebody put this out there before too. There's a DPS flaw right now where if I stay crouched, I can have unlimited freaking powder burn on my rifle. So I'm just like, I'm not even like loading, like I'm sitting there crouched and I'm doing my thing in Outpost Rush, and I fire a powder burn off and I hit somebody. I'm like, all right, cool. I start trying to load, something else, and it's not loading. I'm like, damn, why is it not loading? And the little animation's still on me. I still have a powder burn on, so something they tweaked. It just, they didn't do the typical level of polish that we've seen earlier. So if I would say I'm happy with most of what they're adding right now. Just use the PTR you put in to make it so that these things are fixed before you let the rest of us get out here. And we're being nice, and we love the game, and we're all about seeing the changes and believing in what they're going to do. But there's 1,000 other dudes for every one of us that aren't, and they're just going to fry the game for this. So just use the things that you're putting in the game to help you get the bugs out.
What if they were to maybe go to a cycle of the PTR opens a month before the whatever, and that gives them several weeks of testing cycles to kind of, decide, yes, this is what we want, and here's how we're going to implement it without problems. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, like, if I was a project manager running, whatever the output of when we're going to put patches up, like, I wouldn't want a date. I mean, of course, the corporate guys are going to make you do that, but I wouldn't want a date put on the update patches, because the reality is, what do you want to do? Do you want to, you want to lose people because we're freaking, we decided to let something out and it breaks the game a little bit, like what this is doing right now. Hard to test that Voigt Gauntlet out thoroughly right now when you have a bunch of other bugs and weirdnesses. So I think, yeah, having some kind of dedicated amount of time in the test realm prior to release would be a good thing.
Beautiful. I'm going to hop in here with a shameless plug. We're not promoted by them in any way, but I just got to say, Boulevard Brewing Company, the Sugarwood Baklava limited release 15% alcohol by volume beer. These guys are out of Kansas. God damn, these little Kansasians know how to make a beer. This shit is amazeballs. All right, Wolf.
So,
what's your thing?
a thing that I'd like to see.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna shake the magic 8-ball, look into the crystal ball, whatever you want to call it. The way things are, wherein wars help whoever declares the war the most. They need to give a touch on that. But the thing that I see is gonna happen is that for any given server, there's gonna be essentially a good old boys club of people that know how to do the wars, have the gear for it, blah blah blah,
Have
and
the
they're gonna be
numbers,
the only
more
ones that
importantly.
get in.
More
Yeah,
importantly, have the numbers.
but they're gonna be the only ones that get in. The problem that I see with that is you're gonna have people who are coming up playing the game lower than the people who are already at 60. Well, when they finally get there and they're not in the good old boys club, then they're not gonna be able to do this in-game content. What if there was some sort of either lower tier type war or a training type war scenario wherein you could have people who aren't level 60 that don't have the gear, like I could sign up for them when we hit level 50, right? We could make it so that it could be even possibly a bit lower on it to be like, hey, do you want to do this in game kind of stuff when you're ready for it? It would allow for give it a lot lesser rewards than the current wars and stuff do as far as, getting paid to go do them. But it would let more people be able to come up the ranks such that more people know how these things need to be done and to learn the tactics and run them and get experience with them so that it will sort of dissolve that good old boys club mentality thing that I see is happening here, because that's going to give longevity to those events.
All right, I'm going to riff off of your idea and modify it some, and just off the top
Alright.
of my head make my idea. Ready? They need to add a new PvP mini game, just like Outpost Rush, right? Now we know they're already adding arenas and all that stuff that's coming. That is coming. 2v2s, 5v5s, all that arena shit is 1v1s. It's coming. But I would like to see another mode. So similarly to how you can queue for Outpost Rush, you should be able to queue for some sort of a war. So you go to the fort in, say, pick, I don't know, 3 towns. 3 towns have this to start. And you go to the fort and you sign up and say one of them, it's just 3. And what they'll do is they'll pick people depending on what level you're in, like what sort of, almost like a weight class. They will level people up or level people down. They'll adjust levels so that you are in whatever the grouping that it is. And so long as they get, say, 10 people on either side, you have a war for that fort. 10 people are or it could be more. If 50 people sign up, 25 and 25. If 30 people sign up, 15 and 15. 40 people, 20 and 20. If less than 20 people sign up to where you can't at least do 10 on 10, well, then they're just like, nope, we didn't have enough. But if you have enough to make it go, any level, doesn't matter, say starting at level 30, you can sign up for it. And everybody gets sort of leveled up to or leveled down to, say, I don't know, you could make it 60 or you could make it 50, whatever. Everyone gets leveled to that position. And it's not for ownership of the thing. It's just like Outpost Rush. It's just for money and Azoth and whatever. And it gives, say, instead of making a world change where like, oh, this changes who owns that city, it gives a player buff for, say, a 2-hour player buff of like, hey man, you get 20% extra XP or 20% extra gathering or 20% extra something, so that it's not affecting the world stuff. That stuff is the rightful, whoever the owners are of the town, that's on them. But it's another mode. It gives players who right now, let's be honest, if you're level 55 and you get, 52, whatever, and you get into an invasion or a war, you're going to get kicked because people want, understandably, they want the greatest chance of success because that's very expensive when you own a town and you lose it. So, but this gives them a chance to do something. It is another mode of PvP. And I think we can't have enough modes of PvP. I feel like this game started as a PvP game, full loot PvP constantly. And they realized that there's a lot of people who don't like that. And they've done a phenomenal job of coming across with PvE content to sort of help make people, the masses, happy. But I feel like they really need to do a little bit more to reach out to the PvP players and say like, hey, yeah, okay, we full loot PvP in the world constantly isn't a thing anymore, but give them modes, give them rewards, give them incentives. And I feel like this last change to adding 30% gathering luck and 10% loot luck in the world when you're flagged, that's a phenomenal start. But this other thing, that could also help. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean,
It definitely can't hurt. I like it. My biggest thing with as a lower level trying to run around with a PvP flag on to take advantage of those gains is I'm no match for a level 60 that knows what the hell they're doing and has way better gear score than I do. So it's kind of one of those things where yeah, you can do it, but like it's a hell of a risk at a lower level unless you have somebody on the other side. It's like, no, they're not going to be able to compete with what I can dish out. I'm going to leave them alone.
No,
Kinda
no.
deal.
So the idea is that this has balancing. This has full scaling, so that
Yeah,
everybody
that
is
scaling part I really, really like.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of games I can think of that I've played where I really liked that part of, I've missed out on some time or whatnot, and all my buddies are 10, 20 levels ahead of me, and I can't do anything with them. But there was this whatever scaling thing that was in there that let me get brought up to speed, and I could play catch up that way, and it was fun. I could still play with my friends.
Mm.
So
Ark, what do you
no,
think?
this game does scale. It
Yeah,
scales all your attributes up.
some.
You're never going to get something to help scale the gear. A couple comments there. One, I would say, I think most people that think about they're going to get jacked all the time in PvP just aren't flagged. On my since we've been talking for 10 minutes, now granted I'm a level 60, but I ran past probably 4 dudes who wanted to have nothing to do with me. And the hardcore PvP players, you know where they are. They're in Outpost Rush or dueling each other. Like they have no interests in jacking some level 30 dude. There's only those couple trolls, and they're in Star Citizen. They're in Elite Dangerous. They're everywhere, right? But you don't run into them that often. In like worst case scenario, you disappear back to your tent or a town. You won't run into them much. To your point, Kai, I think of course more PvP opportunities is freaking amazing. You should definitely do that. This game's built and meant for PvP. Once they fix the lag issues and everything else we're seeing. But like I would offer an alternative solution to what Wolf was saying. Ultimately, and you said it best, Kai. It's not that there's like a good old boys club. It's just that's who you want, and it's not just 60s and numbers. It's gear score at this point. It's known players, known commodities. It's particular type of players like healers versus tanks versus ranged, like all that stuff. Any good company is going to be thinking about what 50 they're bringing in. That's what they're going to get down to, like who they bring. But what I think they should do is they should broaden the towns a little bit and make it. There's too many players on a given server to just have whatever 7, 8, whatever towns we have, and that's all that's owned. They should make it so that you could have a primary owner of the town, and then there's dividends split across, let's say, 5 other companies. And those other 5 companies don't need to bring 50 people in. They bring in, groups of 10, 2 groups of 5, or something like that. And if they win, they get some section of the town or some part of it, right? So you take a little of the spoils away from like the head dog, or you just add the value a little bit somehow. But you now make it relevant for companies that don't have 100 people or 50 people or whatever, and that they can be, maybe it's just a group of 10 friends that just like to play together. They're more organized, more structured. There's too many players, not enough stuff to win. You're never going to get into the wars and the way that they're. And then, by the way, maybe Wolf, to your point, make it that the 5 companies that come in to support any given town, like on an offensive curriculum, they are chosen, by RNGesus, right? Or who signs up first, or something like that. The main company gets to pick its core players, and then whoever they don't fill, they could pick up people on the list. But the 4 or 5 other companies that join up, that is all like invasions work, I guess. The first, first come, first serve, however it works. They got to figure out how to make it more appetizing to other players and give other players the chance to play. Otherwise, you're wasting a game mode.
Completely agree.
All right. Well, you gentlemen have anything you want to add to the show for the night?
I don't think so. I think we covered the good, the bad, the ugly, and what we hope for next. I mean, game's still fun as hell to play. It's spent way too many hours doing this.
Hell yeah.
To that point, Wolf. I mean, I think maybe on a closing note, look, like what you're hearing is, at least from my end, and I'm pretty sure from you all too, is passion, right? Passion, love for something that a game has so much potential. It's the only, and I'm a pretty loyal gamer. I don't when I'm playing one particular game, I usually don't venture out to other ones. And like this game's got me hooked. What you're hearing me is doing a lot of investing in my time and effort and thinking about creative ways and things that they need to improve. It's not like none of us here are digging on the game. We're just, we're not being fanboys. I feel like it's important for viewers that we call out the things that we see, to
hell
give
yeah.
a good fair spin. And that's what tonight was. It was just looking at 1.1 for what it really was, which was a lot of high notes, a good bit of low notes, with a lot of kind of constructive criticism that hopefully, is taken forward and they do something with. But it was a good show, man. I had a good time tonight.
Hell yeah. I've moved on to Yingling's Hershey's Porter. Really, really good Christmas chocolate beer. But yeah, like that's the whole point of what we're doing here. We love this game. And I think if you were to take what we said about this game, 90% of it was all positive. 10% of it was, here are things you can do to make it better. Not, it's shit. I don't think any one of us said anything that in any way indicates it's shit. It's great. It is a solid B plus to A minus. And for an MMO, 2 months in, that's amazing. What we're talking about is ways that you can turn an A minus B plus into the GOAT, the greatest of all time. And I feel like this is what this game has the potential to be. So that is absolutely where we're at with it. We love this game. I want to give a special shout out to the Black Sky Legion company on Pluto server. So it's US East. What is it? Tau.
Oh God.
Yeah. Something Tau, sir. But basically, US East. Look under all the US East servers. Look for Pluto. You'll find us. And okay, what's going on? My fishing is frozen mid fish. So yeah, come join our company. We are open to all.
Arcadia Tau Group. That's
There you go.
what it is.
Arcadia Tau.
I had to go through our pinned messages.
We are open to all, so you can join. Ark plays from Germany. Suv plays from the UK. We've got people from Europe that are playing and are having no problem in general, with the ping and the delay and whatever. So wherever you're at, come and join us. We're having fun. We hang out in Discord comms all day. People are, hey, I need help with this dungeon. Hey, can you help me with this? Whatever. Oh, I got to go up to Eden Grove. I got to go into Malevolence and deal with the ball ache to get, whatever for this weapon mastery quest. And people will be like, yeah, all right, I'll join. Oh, I'll join too. I can't tell you how many times we've had somebody, I need Amrine Dungeon. I need the depths. I need this. I need that. And we're all like, yeah, fuck it. Let's go. We put together a group. We run it. It's fun. We hang out. I'll be honest. We're a bunch of mostly internet dads. We're, if not literally dads, we're of that age group where we're, some old farts sitting around talking about what beer we're drinking, talking about Cowboy Bebop or Foundation or, hey, did you see this or did you see that or whatever. We try to keep the politics and all that shit out of it. But like, we're sitting around talking about stuff that, old internet fart, dads like to talk about. Well, goddamn, Magnum PI. Remember Tom Selleck? He was the man, and playing games and being silly and having beers. So if that sounds like something that you would like, it's like $40 for this game, and let me tell you something, it's well worth it. Come join us and hang out with us. And even if you're playing Star Citizen or Elite or whatever, come join us in the Discord server and just hang out in the channel and shoot the shit with us, because that's fine too. Ark, Wolf, you got any interesting stuff to share or plugs or whatever for our group? Any funny stories, anything? Go for it.
No, none of my part. Just just to kind of caveat off what you just said. Yeah, we definitely want to grow the numbers of the company and get it bigger. We have a lot of plans coming up for our own sort of diving into to different conflicts. And one thing I'll just note, we're on a server, Pluto, where it's safe. It's not going to get consumed by another server. It's got a good population base, and it's really even. Just going back right now, there's 4 territory, no, 3 controlled by purple, 4 by yellow, 4 by green. That's it, it's plus or minus a faction or a territory every week.
Even.
So it's really healthy. And like Kai said, we're all super helpful, and a lot of us. I mean, we are some dads and some old heads, but we also have been playing games since games were created, and a lot of us MMOs since their first MMO was created. So we've got a ton of knowledge and experience from crafting, PvE, PvP, and we do it all. So if you're interested, drop us a line, and come join the fun.
Hell yeah! I mean, I think they did, in fact, find a very primitive version of like an early sort of Babylonian board game in what is it, Batu Karla, for like 20,000 years ago. So I'm not sure if we've been playing games for as long as they've been around, but we've been playing MMOs for pretty much about as long as they've been around, for sure. Wolf, you got anything to add to that?
I do not. I don't even have a random historical fact that sounded made up to begin with, but I'm gonna Google it later and see what the hell that was.
So there was Göbekli Tepe was the previously oldest known excavation site they found. That was like 12,000 years old in Turkey, and they just found Batu Karla, which is it's Bantu Kaarla, and it's like it's literally like 10,000 years older than Göbekli Tepe. It's literally, scientists and archaeologists are having to readjust our entire sort of known timeline on the history of civilizations. In addition to that, they just found within the last 6 months fossilized footprints of human beings in North America going back like 40,000 years, which is crazy because they thought that the first humans came across to North America during the land bridge in the last ice age, on the land bridge across from Russia. And it's like, nope, clearly not. So history is getting some reworks to it as we speak. That's probably a whole different show. But with regard to stuff,
you do realize this completely throws out your whole I don't know anything when you have this encyclopedic knowledge of these random things of trivia that are completely applicable to whatever the hell we would need to talk about at any time, right?
No, I'm just a huge history nut for like I've been for years. I've been saying, man, the pyramids and the Sphinx are way older than people thought they were. If you look at the works of like what's his name? That guy that does studies of erosions and rainfall. You know what? That's a whole different show. Getting back to the point of Wolf, give us a plug for why people should come join us, the Black Sky Legion Company, on Pluto server NA East. Get it, bro?
Absolutely zero drama. All we want to do is have fun, sit around talking about whatever, as Kai just demonstrated, and just drink beers, chat, and play awesome video games. It doesn't have to be New World. It can be Elite, Star Citizen, 100-net Starfighter, Fly Dangerous, Mass Effect. I mean, anything goes. We've got several sections of the server dedicated to those things, and if you don't want to see them, don't click the thing in the Choose Your Roles channel, because I don't remember what the channel count is, but it was well
it's
over
many.
100.
It's
Oof.
way
I'm
too
glad I
many.
put that system in.
Hell yeah.
Sov and I are big Total Warhammer fans too, so if you like
There you
strategy,
go.
Dude, we can add a Warhammer channel for the fucking 4 people who are interested. Yeah. Hell yeah. Fuck yeah. All right, guys. This has been the first episode, although not really the first episode because we've done 11 episodes when you count the zero prep stuff. But this has been the first episode of New World Aeternum Weekly Podcast. And all I got to say is I love you all. Peace. Stay black. What you got, Wolf? Say
Thank
goodbye
you,
to the
everyone,
beautiful
for
people.
joining us. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Mine was
I'm going to
better.
go back to playing New World.
I've been playing this whole
absolutely.
time. Art, go.
Ciao bella.
That was so fucking cheesy. Il mare è poso pronto, se azzilisse la luna e non viene spente. All right, we're out.
There's that SAP button again.
Chill, motherfucker. That wasn't Spanish, bro. That was Italian. Fuck off. Wow.
I'm drunk. Shut up.
We love you. Bye. Where's the song? Where's the button for the song?